everyone. This is already the last of 3 live streams that I've been hosting during the Dutch Design Week 2020 in Eindhoven. Well, Virtual Design Week. The last episode is named Re-engineering Materials and Waste. And I have a big group of people at the digital table. And hold on, sorry. There was something with my sound. I have a big group of people at the table today, and I would like to ask everyone to introduce themselves so that we know who we are talking with today. So, Ino, could you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Ino Paap. I'm in my professional life actually doing 2 things. I work for Ikea, I think a well-known home furnishing company, retailer. In that company, I'm responsible for all the technology for learning. So for all the global infrastructure for learning is established within IKEA by me and my team. And next to that, I'm at the University of Amsterdam conducting a PhD research at sociology, which is about how digital platforms can support the creation of new knowledge. So also from that perspective, I think it's super interesting to have this dialogue. What new knowledge do we actually need here?
Thank you. Thijs, can I ask you to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Thijs Baneke. I'm a marketing manager at Wentzel in Amsterdam. And we are a supplier of non-ferrous metals for the building industry. These are zinc, copper, and lead. Products we sell are gutters, downspouts, copper tubes for water distribution and gas transportation. Lead sheet is mostly used in construction, so all focused on the building industry. And yeah, we work together, or I work together with Jeffrey with the zinc cabinet, which was made of Rheinzink. That's a German producer of zinc, rolled zinc. Yeah, as I already said, that's mostly used outside of a building. So yeah, quite new for me, for us. Yeah, so that's my role in this discussion.
Thank you, Thijs. Hillebrand, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Hillebrand Breuker. I work for the province of Noord-Holland. I'm the founder and project manager of project Grass to Grid. Grass to Grid is a project, a European project to make new things out of road verge grass. The first thing we make from road grass is a new brine to use for de-icing the roads in the winter. We get minerals from the grass, and the other is we use the fibers of road grass to make all kinds of things, especially road furniture, like traffic signs and ditch cladding and that kind of things. And there are lots of possibilities for grass. For the rest, I work for a team, Green Capital, and I'm specialized in looking for nature combinations to build things with nature and increase biodiversity by doing that. And I'm specialized in food forestry.
Thank you. Thomas, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you for inviting me. Hello everyone. Thomas van Belzen. I'm a reporter of Dutch Construction Daily newspaper. We have a website, and sometimes I talk programs together, like Koba Café. It's in a cafe, and we talk about all things of construction. I'm also a writer of the book. How do you say it? War of Sustainability. Maybe you can see it. It's almost 7 years old now, but it's still relevant. And I follow the Dutch companies, the Dutch builders, Dutch architects, and circularity is one of the topics.
Thank you. And Noud, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. Thanks for having me, Jeffrey. My name is Noud Sleumer. I'm a conceptual designer. And with my work, I explore global systems of production and processing. So for examples, I look into phones when they're broken and what happens with their afterlife. And an example is that I make machines that destroy smartphones.
Thank you. And then for the last time, I will introduce myself again. I'm Jeffrey. I'm re-engineer at Studio Jeffrey Heiligers. And I collaborate and help businesses to look into the production methods, looking at the crafts, technologies, and materials used to re-engineer products to new standards. The first live stream was about this full collection that I made, which is called the New Standard 2030, where I took a big jump 10 years from now in the future, where I try to explore a different way of producing objects. And two of them were the zinc cabinet in collaboration with Wentzel, with Thijs, and the other one was the rack rock. I will start with rack rock. This was a project that I did by myself, so it was a solo project in this collection. Well, not entirely by myself, because I posted a thing on Facebook asking people from the neighborhood to collect fabrics for me or give me the fabrics that they didn't want anymore. Because one of the things that happened when the COVID-19 crisis started at the start of this year is that people started cleaning up their houses, and we were stuck with this massive pile of textile that didn't have a new purpose. So I thought that was super interesting, and I started collecting it, and I've manually treated 30 kilograms of textile from old fast fashion, low quality garments into a really high quality handmade rug, which took me a really long time to make. But that was a very interesting process. And the second product is the zinc cabinet, and that was in collaboration with Wentzel. Also very interesting project, I think, because what Thijs already mentioned, it's a material that is normally used on the outside of a building, and already they've been doing this for decades. But I thought it was really, like, after a tour in the factory, I thought it was really interesting the way they treat the material and how they could shape the material, and how this potentially could contribute to a self-supporting system. So the aim was to create a wardrobe that is not that doesn't rely on any screws or welding or glue or any fixtures to be held together, but it's held up by itself and the way it is folded and constructed. And thank you so much, Thijs, for giving that opportunity to create the first prototype, and it looks really good. I'm super happy with it. And then actually, like, my first question is, I've sent my work to you guys, and I'm curious what the first responses were when you saw the stuff that I made in this new vision. Can anyone just give an answer? Maybe Noud, someone?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I saw, of course, both of your projects. I'm actually seeing one of them right now in real life, so that's also really nice. But I started looking at the rack rock from Textile, and like the first thing I immediately was wondering, you say the textiles you collected are like waste, but I was wondering when or how do you define something in your work as waste? So is it like shirts or clothing people didn't need anymore, or was it really like outworn and not usable anymore? That was like my the first thing I immediately wondered.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, the stuff that I got was worn out, and like it had holes in it, and it was kind of dirty in a way. I had to wash it and cut it down to, because you couldn't make anything new out of it, basically. Yeah, so and it was supposed to go into the textile bin, which is actually a really big problem, because we throw away a lot of clothes to go to third world countries or to other places, and they can't even use it anymore. So I wanted to reuse that material in a different way. And yeah, that was it actually. Thijs, how do you feel about the collection?
Well, I actually was completely focused on the sink cabinet, so that is of course the very interesting project you made. Yeah, I think it was to focus on that. I think it was for us it was quite an eye opener that you could do more with sink than only use it as a gutter or a downspout. And it's also something, yeah, I think everybody knows that zinc is fully recyclable without any quality loss. So it stays in the same loop on the same high level. Yeah, when it's mined, then it will never be waste anymore. But the interesting about this is that zinc used in construction in the times it will be there maybe for 50 or 60, 70 years. It will get a bit dirty. There's some dirt on it, sometimes on some soldering material. It still is recyclable, but it makes a bigger loop to when eventually it will come back to our factory. That is not the point when you keep the material fully clean, so without any soldering or screws. So the idea you had. In this case, we are capable of taking it back directly and put it directly back in our oven at Rheinzink. And that, of course, is very positive because you don't have the big loop and all the companies who are trading it and transporting it. So that is quite a good idea, and that is what we should do with more of our products, of course.
Yeah, that's actually interesting that you're mentioning that, because I think for me it was really important to stick to that one material, and it's a question now in general for everyone. Do you think that it's something that designers and other companies should really start focusing at to create new objects that are just relying on one material, so it's easier to recycle, for example?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think it's not, and I think it's not only focusing on one material. I think extending the lifetime of a product is another one. I think, for example, I don't know. I've been answering your first question about what do you think about the products. The first thing I want to touch and feel them, and with this digital Dutch Design Week, that is a little bit hard, but still I'm very curious to actually to be able to open and close the doors and just feel how that feels, as well as I want to touch the carpet and also walk on the carpet. How does it feel if I walk over the carpet? So I think I'm super curious to that. But then regarding the other question from thinking about the use of materials, I think it is super important to think as if you are, when you are designing the product, and what materials are you using. So actually, what is actually the life cycle, and can you make the life cycle of those materials circular? But also, I think, for example, if you think about home furnishing products like such a cabinet, can you actually take it apart? So actually I can move it to my next house, or actually I can actually ship it easier. I think another theme you had is actually to flat pack stuff. And I think being able to flat pack your products, that means that you should be able not only to assemble it, to put it in your house, but also to be able to deassemble it again, to pick it, to reflat pack it. I think that is also needed. So I think using materials which you can split from each other, so you can reuse it, is one. But I think be able to extend the life cycle of a product by taking it apart so you can send it again to somewhere, and then not as waste to the landfill or other places, but to actually to give a couple of more years.
Jeffrey.
Yes.
Jeffrey, I have one question. I'm good in asking questions. I wonder what the story is behind your. Is this a piece of art or is this a piece of impact? Do you want to show the world that we have to choose other ways? What's the meaning of this project?
You're talking about the zinc cabinet here, or?
Yes, yeah, for example.
Yeah, I think like what I try to prove is that if you put your mind to it, you can build something out of one material. And I think something that Ino just mentioned was something that reflat packing the thing. And that's something that I kind of got with as a bonus. I didn't even think that through in the beginning, to be honest. But you can take it apart super easily, and it's flat, and you can move it to another place and rebuild it. And I think. Yeah, we should design more like this. So maybe it was a little bit of a statement kicking against the system, saying like what we're doing right now is maybe not the correct way, but I wanted to show an alternative, like a positive concept of how we could do it potentially.
So one material, less is more.
Yeah, you could say it like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I might give a reaction, Jeffrey. I like your style. It's a really high quality, and I think that's what we need. And my purpose with my project is to just harvest materials locally, and there is also a lot of local waste. So that's I'm harvesting minerals and fibers. Just waste like fabrics is also a part of my my plan for the future, that we're not reliable on foreign countries. But I think people like you have help us to make a paradigm shift to look another way to our the things we use instead of ordering all kinds of stuff from AliExpress, all kind of garbage. So we need just quality things and which have last long, and we have to harvest it in our own environment, and then we get also a new economy. Then that fabric has a new waste, when often has a new value. It's not just what you throw away, it has a value. So I think you're helping us to make this paradigm shift for a new economy, and I admire that.
Hillebrand, we've just had a question for you from Doreen. She asks, what do you mean that high quality is necessary?
High quality is that the things you buy last long, and for example, we have a couch that's a 40-year-old Jan de Bouffry couch, and it still is there. And we're gonna rebuild it again, reclothe it, but it's quality. Just you can go to Seats and Sofa and buy every 2 years a new, but it's quality, and it's 40 years, and it is still sitting very good because it's high quality. Yeah. And that's what I mean. And we are sitting in a consumer market with everything has to go around too fast. But yeah, that's not the way anymore, I think, and that's the paradigm shift we have to make.
Yeah. In English, we have the saying. I don't know if you have it in Dutch, but they say they just don't make it like they used to. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think I've been born in a throwaway society. Yeah. We buy something and we throw away. We buy some, like job hopping. Like we have one girl, we have another girl, or boy, or another boy, and we have to embrace quality, and we have to embrace creative kind of ways. And I think we have to re-engineer ourselves, or to redesign ourselves. I've been grown up by books and by teachers, and they learned me all stuff. But I think it's important that you are going to think by yourself. You have to you ask yourself questions. Why do we eat something? why do we do something? Why do we go that way? And I think there's a new century is coming, and I hope that it will be a century of more creativity.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
I think
Then
I think it's also necessary. Necessary to redefine welfare. What means welfare for us? To be wealthy and rich, or have a good quality of life with lasting things. Sorry, you know.
Yeah, I think that is also where I wanted to go, because I think, of course, high quality is something to strive for on the one hand. On the other hand, I think what Jeffrey mentioned in his introduction, that making this carpet actually, well, helped him through all the COVID lockdown period. So actually that took him quite a lot of time. So I think what is actually the cost, which comes with the development of a high quality product. I think that is another one to take in as well. I think we are not with the 7 of us here on this globe, we are with 7 billion. So each of us is actually representing 1 billion people in this conversation. And well, maybe all of us like to have a nice carpet on the floor, so we do not have these cold feet when it's a little bit chilly. So I think, and then I think we cannot ask Jeffrey to not 7 billion carpets which take them all this month, because he doesn't have that much time. So I think there is a dilemma we need to take in, that it is not only high quality, it is also that we need to find a way forward where we can actually be and sustainable and much more inclusive in the welfare and well-being, what you mentioned, Hillebrand. I think that is well, I see a couple of challenges still to look into.
So I just received 2 more questions that kind of fit in here. The first was again from Doreen, and she asks Thomas specifically. Oh, sorry, hang on, where did it go? There's a big need for construction in construction for new houses. So is that to be combined with high quality in construction then?
The first part I didn't hear very well.
Oh, sorry. She asked, there's a big need in construction for new houses, so we have a large demand for housing.
Yes.
Is that being combined with high quality in construction then?
Yeah, that's always the dilemma. Now, yes, indeed, there's not a lot of companies. There's too less people who work in the building and construction sector. So when the pressure is high, there's no time to innovate, or there's no time to. But on the other hand, I see a lot of new cooperation between consumers and builders to find different ways, because yeah, we have the raw materials. There's a big problem for the future. So yes, she's right, Doreen, but there's still some hope, I would say.
Yeah. And the second question that we had was from Fita. And they have asked, is it bad to get materials from elsewhere? I think this relates to earlier in the conversation. Is it bad to get materials from elsewhere if it's resourced sustainably and fair? I guess that's an open one for everybody. Sorry.
I can answer that. One of my partners makes non-biodegradable bioplastics, and it's made from sugarcane from Brazil. And then you think, oh, it's come all the way from Brazil. But when you see to the CO2 print, the only 2% goes to transport. So when you make a calculation, and then when it's a high quality, it's okay to transport. Low quality products like low quality products you shouldn't transport. So that's answer I can give.
And can I I've got a personal question on that one, sorry. Just with the CO2 output, is that something that companies are taking into consideration or not? Do you see that happening? I don't work in this industry at all, so I have no idea.
You ask to me?
Yeah. So they obviously have an idea of the carbon dioxide output that they have from that
for example,
transporting. Is that something that many companies do?
I work for the government, and we ask our constructors to take care of the CO2. So then they have to. European Union. I work for a European project, Life. They ask it. So it's going more and more, but
it's not going fast enough.
Not going fast enough, but the province of North Holland, they're used to it wasn't that high on the agenda, but now we have GroenLinks coalition, and CO2 is quite high on the agenda, and next year we gonna spend a lot of money in CO2 reduction. So it's going better, and maybe I mentioned the climate cleanup organization where I also work for, and that's a kind of organization is increasing power, and they are only looking at CO2, just cleaning up the climate. So it's expansional growth, I see.
Yeah, I see the same with Ikea, that there is a lot of investments in making things more sustainable, making products extend the lifetime of them, as well as to actually not even becoming, even on a carbon footprint, but actually becoming carbon footprint positive. And there are many initiatives which involve quite a lot of investments and innovation into that. I think that is super high on the agenda.
But it's also in building industry, especially there in the Dutch building industry. There's now a demand, or a regulation is coming up where you have to make a shadow cost calculation for every building that is built, and that's a sort of calculation which is suppressed in an amount of money. And that is a shadow to the CO2 emissions. So right now it's introduced, and it's still quite easy to reach this level, but in the years it will lower and lower, and then the architects and designers should choose for the right materials with a low CO2 emission. So it's definitely something which is an issue for all producers of building materials.
I wonder if you think the transition is going fast enough.
We should, yeah. I think for building materials, it's one of the industries which are high contributors to CO2. So if I look at Rheinzink or at other suppliers from us, they are all working on this, and it's high on the agenda for sure. Yeah.
Other ones?
No, I think my personal view is that I think it needs to go faster, because I think it is still, we did not turn the trend yet in carbon footprint. I think it is still going in the wrong direction. So I think it is absolutely not going fast enough. Absolutely.
And then I wonder, what's then the next step? The next step?
Yeah, I'm also curious. How can we get there faster? What can we do?
Well, for example, Jeffrey, in your use a natural material in your designs. By using natural materials, you store CO2. That could be I'm in a first grass business. There's a lot of grass growing. That when you use that as a material in building, and then you store CO2 for a long time. So that is one of the possibilities. You can also use water plants, elks, all that kind of, and we need more innovation to make high level quality products from those raw materials.
And do you think that maybe a way to make things move faster is to start collaborating with people that you normally wouldn't collaborate with?
I think I once heard from something, always start with the elite. And that means when you introduce, for example, a new food, then like the kiwi or orange, like pepper, this all started with the elite, and then the common people also could buy it in the supermarket. So that's why you make high level quality products. So the elite thinks, oh, I can, and then the rest of the people wants to have it too. So that's a way to, and you do that. Yeah, you make high quality, desirable things. Not for everybody affordable yet, but when you go further, then it's affordable for everybody, and then you created a new market. So you're a really yeah.
But we're talking about this for 20, 30 years, and we're still, the conclusion is still that it's going not fast enough. So I still wonder, do we need any taxes or wages or rules, or what do we need, or do we have to seduce people like Jeffrey does?
Yeah, I think it's also something that in the previous 2 live streams came up a couple of times. It's like what we need, like a new like set of rules, basically, that should be like it should be more regulated, and the government should really step in and start making decisions on this. But something else, like the collaboration bit, I think is also really interesting. I think one of the main reasons why I started hosting these live streams and putting people at the table that normally would maybe not necessarily speak to each other, I think is super interesting, because this whole week gave me really interesting insights from all different perspectives, and everyone has their opinions. And I think if we start putting these things together, that we can already maybe speed up processes, because there is so much knowledge that we can combine and to proceed. Like what Thijs said about me stepping into their business, being inspired by the material, and showing them a completely a different approach to the material that they use on a daily basis. I think could be an interesting way forward as well, to, like, make these connections between different parties. I think Noud, for example, also is really good in making, like, showing these processes, like making them visible in a way. It would also be interesting to hear more about that in a minute. Yeah, I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel like there is this need for people to talk to each other, and there should be, like, I think this could be a really good way forward to start meeting up and making plans and combining ideas and making things move.
If I can reply to that, I've heard a lot of good things, but what I also really think, what I haven't heard, is that we also need like a radical change in our connection or in our behavior towards stuff in general. And I think that has a lot to do with how we value something. I guess it's also really how accessible something or knowledge is about how something is produced or how it is made or by who it is made or where it is coming from. I think this will already give a lot of change towards the relationship we have with our stuff right now. I think we're also a bit alienated from where our stuff is coming from and what it is made from. So I think this is also a key element which if we also focus on this together with the innovation and all rules, I think that this will also be of massive impact.
Yeah, that's something that we also, that came up already now this week. So it's good that you put it into the conversation, that we should be more aware of the things around us and where it comes from, who made it, and like everything that comes with it. But that also asks from transparency from all parties, and also a bit of collaboration, because how are we gonna, inform each other? I think that's also a really big question in this whole process, because how can I find that information, where it comes from and who made it, for example? I don't know how other people feel about this.
Well, I I think we shouldn't redesign our products, but maybe we should rather redesign our systems of making in that way. If that's the, maybe that, I guess in this direction it can also lead, and also then redesign the systems, but also not only think about how sustainable or something is right when we use it right here, but for also in other parts of the world where we source it, where we produce it, how this is all related to each other. I think this is also a big element to rethink.
Yeah, and I think it's both needed. It is, and much more collaboration, because I think the challenges we see ahead of us to become more sustainable, actually to use also less of the raw material to have the goods we want and we need, is one. I think there are a lot more collaboration can be beneficial and can also maybe speed up. To Thomas' question on how can we speed up, I think collaboration can also speed up, because 2 no more than 1 and 7 more than 2. On the other hand, I think, yeah, in the information sharing or sharing more knowledge, I think knowledge is one, but I think it should also become more clear to people what does it actually mean to have to ship material from Brazil to whatever, to here to the Netherlands and make a work out of that. I think maybe the cost from a monetary perspective is low, but still, what does it actually mean to source or actually to transport all this material over the whole globe? Because the fibers Hillebrand is using, I think the fibers are still fibers. The fibers in the grass here are fibers as the fibers from the sugarcane from Brazil. So can we actually reinvent the sugarcane fibers or reuse sugarcane fibers with fibers we actually produce much more local or in the woods we have in Europe? I think that is a lot of rethinking where designers like Noud and Jeffrey, I think, can play a fantastic role. For example, you have now one carpet, maybe the next carpet should be only from better cotton, so cotton which is not only better for the ecology but also better for the producers of the cotton, so that you are asking the people in the neighborhood, I want to make my second carpet because it's lockdown time again, but now I only want to have bio cottons and fair cotton products, and that will then make people think from what is he now asking? He doesn't want my waste anymore because it is the wrong type of waste. I only want to have the better waste. I think that is a transformation. I think it is which actually makes me super curious how we can actually establish that.
Yes, I think that it's time for a world and a language we can understand, because we're talking about 20 or 30 years, and then we see government making rules with the big companies, and we don't understand what sustainable means in the end. So there has to come show the world what sustainability is mean, and I think. What you don't understand, you will finally ignore. So you have to tell a new story, which we can embrace all together and which we understand. And Jeffrey, you're not your closet, but your sink cabinet is something you can understand. Maybe it's not the totally right story, but it's something you can understand. And I think when we build logical buildings, and we build you can pull them together and without any waste, then it's going to mean something for us, and then we're going to buy it.
So what you're saying, it's interesting because I've seen some talks coming by this week as well, and another topic that comes up is that we forget also who we are designing for in a way, and that we don't speak the same language. It's super interesting, and it's something that we have to look at.
Yes, and I think we all, you have architects, you have constructors, you have consumers, you have all kind of people, and we all live in different worlds. And now it's time that we are going to connect with each other. I want to understand you, I want to understand Hillebrand, I want to understand Noud. So we have to ask each other questions, and we actually have to make contact with each other again, and not only doing this and doing things by the book, but making contact and ask each other, what do you want, what's important for you. And I see now, today I write an article about 6 corporations, and 2 construction companies in Drenthe, in the north of, and they are working together. They are going to build thousands of houses in the next 5 years, and it's a long-term collaboration. How do you say it? And I think that's also important, that we don't need short relationships, but long relationships, because then you can build together a better future in a way.
Yeah. What I think is and maybe you can write an article on that once, is how to use new rituals in our society, and rituals that give people access to become more behave more durable.
Yes.
I was reading a book about Chinese philosophers, and there was a part of Confucius, and he made all kinds of rituals to be a better person. So, and I puzzled from how can we make some rituals that we gonna use in our culture to become more durable and more because the rituals we now have are all based on capitalism. So you have to learn, you have to grow. So our paradigm is overwhelmed of that kind of thoughts. So that and you think you have worries about your money because that's how you brought up. So we have to think a lot on another way. And how can we how can we get to that, and what do we need? I think it's very simple, because a child says please to an adult, and that's a ritual so that he can speak to an adult, just only to say please. Can we think of a ritual that we become more durable? I'm puzzled. Maybe it's a strange thought, but what do you think, Thomas? Or Jeffrey?
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting, and I like also still thinking about what Noud said about the like really changing the system. I'm actually curious how he feels about this, because I don't know. I also kind of find that it's kind of in line with what he does.
No, yeah, but I'm also really inspired by what you say about the rituals. What I'm also thinking is like, if I relate it to your project, for example, your carpet, Jeffrey, I think it's also what we really can do right now in terms of that, also in terms of rituals, is understanding our waste right now. And I think not just on a material based level, but I think, for example, when you have your carpet and you made it somewhere in the Netherlands, if you would do the same thing somewhere in France, in I don't know, in all kinds of parts of the world, one in the USA, one in Mexico, one in Kenya, you would see differences in how the carpets will be created. And I think this will also tell a lot about our behavior towards how waste is created, or what how it comes into our world, and how it looks different actually in different parts of the world. So how all these lifestyles are related to it. And I think understanding waste in this kind of way, maybe in a social way or in a cultural way, can be also really interesting for those rituals, I guess. I don't have a implemented idea of it, but I can relate to these kind of interventions in terms of how we can start right now with this.
I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to warp it a bit, because we've gone a bit, there's been a lot of questions in the chat and we've gone a bit beyond it, but I'm going to warp it to sort of meet in with what Noud was saying. Is there any way that we can use this to our advantage with the resource scarcity that the world will shortly or in the future be facing? This the recycling of materials.
I don't think there is a resource scarcity. Yeah, there is a resource scarcity for our greed, but not for our need. So
I agree. And also, in a way, the resource scarcity is quite seen from a couple of, how do you say, from our system, because it's also, there are still plenty of materials in the ground, in the earth. It just gets harder to mine them, or it gets economically less valuable to do it, I guess. So I guess we see also, maybe we should also rethink scarcity in that way.
Yeah, you have, when you think scarce, it will be scarce. When you think in abundance, you live in abundance. Maybe that's a paradigm shift. Look around you, there is abundance. Everything is, many things are for free. But we are brought up to thinking scarcity. So that's one of the major paradigm shifts we have to go through.
I think it's a linear way of thinking also. How to connect to your story, Hillebrand, that you say it's all about capitalism. That's also a linear way of thinking, and you should go, of course, in a circular way. It's not ending at the moment. We have to give it through to other generations, and I think that's also connected to scarcity of products. For example, with zinc, there's enough zinc available for thousands of years, but I think the important point is that we, if we take it, we have to keep it there and reuse it in a good way. Yeah. So it can also be easily disassembled, reused. I think that's also another way of thinking, and especially the building industry is still so traditional. Maybe only the architects or the designers, they are thinking in this way, but the other parties in this whole process are definitely not yet.
And we have another question that might be more, appropriate for Ino, that's related to scarcity, if that exists or not. Evie has asked, how do gigantic companies such as Ikea play a role in not only democratizing affordable furniture and at the same time not violating wood and timber supply chain ordinance? So I'm guessing, her example is with wood, but with all materials.
Of course, Ikea is using really massive amounts of wood, and that is also because we have massive amounts of customers who like to choose to buy at Ikea, and that is I think a very present topic. Not that we want to. Of course, we want to reduce the material use in our product on the one hand, because that is in multiple ways good, because we use less raw material on the one hand. It also will lead to less use of goods, leads to lower prices. So that is actually leading to lower prices for our customers. On the other hand, I think wood is a very beautiful example of a carbon lock. So compared to plastics, most of plastics are or biodegradable, but it's also a quite time-consuming thing. But wood in itself is a very nice material, which is actually quite sustainable, because as long as you do not make it wet for too long, it will last for quite a long time. So from that perspective, wood is super sustainable, as well as you can grow it more or less anywhere on the planet. So I think that is where I think wood is a quite good material if you think about how can we actually become more sustainable. And I think on the scarcity topic, which also was connected to this, I think scarcity in wood. Yeah, of course, we are also doing quite a lot of timbering on the global scale, not only IKEA. IKEA is sourcing only from well-managed woods. And on the other hand, I think the scarcity or abundant things, what we should look into is into the waste. So actually, how can we actually rethink waste so it is not perceived or used as waste anymore, but it's actually used as raw material and actually input in a new production process for products.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'd like to say that not only the constructors are very conservative, but also the buyers, because they want to have cheap and they want to have fast products. That's not only the constructors make what the buyers want to have.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the things in the whole collection that I made, is that there is this constant game of like people pointing fingers at each other, like it's it's the consumer's fault, it's the producer's fault, it's designer's fault. Yeah, again, the question, like, what would be an interesting way forward to overcome this problem? And instead of pointing fingers at each other, presenting each other solutions and making, I think a lot of things more transparent, for example.
I've one example. There's coming a new generation, and what you see is that this generation of constructors, they what they are used to build. They use a lot of concrete, and now you see more and more builders who use hemp or wood or other bio-based materials. But I see this new generation, and they see a lot of rules, and calling a bouwbesluit in Dutch. But they don't build like the rules, but they build because it's logic. So they use a lot of digital ways, and they think in simple products and products that are logical. And when you see the issue like that, then it does not an issue anymore. You do it because it's normal and logical and sustainable. I think we have to we have to look different to it's not a problem, it's just a solution.
And now talking about this, and you were talking about that system change, and I just said like the pointing fingers at each other. I don't. For me personally, that's not the way to solve the problem, because then you just put the problem in someone else's hands. How do you feel about this, and how do you try to make this visible through your work, for example?
You have to talk about it. You have to seduce people. My traditional role as a journalist, a reporter, is to be critical. Yeah? I still am, but only I have also the place to tell, to bring people together, to connect each other's story together, and to inspire people and to make things speakable. You have to see the changes, and we have now a new program, and we call it COBA Game Changers, and there we want to have the people, they make difference. We interview them, and with those interviews we show the world that you can do it on the other way, and that's what I can do. And I can bring experts together. I can bring different kind of people together, and also the construction world should not only look at their own world, but they should make connections with other worlds. And I think that's the future. We have to meet each other again. We have to go other ways. We should not be afraid to innovate. We should travel. We do a lot of things because we're used to it, but everyone has to, what I say, redesign himself, herself. We have to do. We shouldn't be afraid of the future. we have to embrace the future and we have to see chances.
Yeah, I think also. I think we need to be curious to the future as well as work together to find new solutions. And I think that's including the 7 million people I brought up earlier. I think we need more or less everybody to think with us. How can we actually make this a sustainable planet for all of us, where we need to learn. We need also to figure out what do we need to learn actually to do that. What do I need to learn as a consumer of goods? What do I need to learn to actually be a good owner of that goods once I have purchased it? Because maybe now we are purchasing it in stores, but you made this zinc cabinet which will last for the next 5 centuries. So it will go from one person to the next without, or maybe with selling platforms, but it goes from one owner to the next owner. So what do I need to know? What do I need to do with that cabinet to be able to sell it to the next owner in a good shape? I think that is what I think we need to do.
And one thing for me, because I talk a lot, is now a very serious discussion. I think it should be a happy discussion. So we have to enjoy it, we have to laugh, we have to celebrate it, and then people will go with us. So we all, I'm looking to all serious, because it's serious, a good conversation, but we also have to enjoy it.
We need to be creative. We need to bring creativity in it, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, I really agree. Yeah. And also, like, we need to really be creative in our skills and in how we experience all of this, and take ownership over it. Yeah.
And I'd like to meet you all. I didn't know you before this one. Maybe we can connect on LinkedIn or Twitter or on other ways, and maybe we can help each other to help this story capture further.
Plus, everybody who is watching and listening to us is also very welcome to join.
Yeah. Of course, everyone.
While talking about the listeners, Kyle, are there any more questions from the YouTube live?
You're
on mute.
Sorry, there was just one comment again from Fita. Sometimes consumers feel like they have no choice, or they don't know that they have a choice in purchasing something. So I'm assuming that person means that they don't have a choice financially to purchase something sustainably made. So what are the solutions for this market or demographic in the future, maybe?
I think you have to be transparent about the characters of your product, and not by a line, this project is sustainable, or this has a sustainable 5 or a number, or you have to explain why it's sustainable, because it's from my backyard, or because it's made of hemp, and I have in my backyard a lot of hemp. Then I understand it. So you have to make it understandable, and that with all promises you can how do we say it, check.
Yeah, and I think it is a challenge at the moment. It's a challenge for people with not that much money, that there is maybe not enough choice for low prices. So I think there a lot of innovation is actually needed to actually make more products which are sustainable and have low prices. I think it's possible. I think that's also what Ikea is doing, for example. If you start to produce products in a higher volume, then the price per unit goes down. Then, so if you produce more sustainable products in a higher volume, also those prices go down. So I think that is, we have to rethink that we also have products which are accessible to people with thin wallets. Absolutely.
And also more desirable. When you make durable goods, the most desirable goods, like a Tesla is a good example. yeah, everybody wants a Tesla, but it's expensive, but it's durable, so it looks nice. So I think what you, no matter what you think about electric driving, but it's a good example how to influence the market with a sustainable good.
Yeah, I hear a lot of really interesting things, and unfortunately, our hour is already over. It went really fast. Yeah, really good. Like, so we need more creativity. It should be more fun, and something that I also put in my 2030 text was that the right choice shouldn't be a choice. It should just be right for everyone, but it should also be available for everyone. So I think it's a lot of things in this conclusion that we can work towards, and I would like to thank you all for being part of this chat today, and we should definitely do this again when we have some more time. And yeah, that was it. Thank you so much for being part of this, also for the listeners. I will go to the live chat now on the Dutch Design Week website. So if you put in type in my name, you can find me, and we can keep discussing for another hour. And yeah, have a good evening. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeffrey, for bringing us together.
Yeah, thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure and an honor.
It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.